everybody, it's Becky with Icing on Top Becky's Cake, and today we're going to make this life-sized Dachshund cake, and it is standing and 3D. It is so much fun. I'm going to show you all how to make, first of all, this structure, which is very important for any cake before you begin actually building cake. So I'm going to use this. It's actually a sewer pipe. It's PVC, and you can find it at Lowe's in the PVC pipe aisle. I'm going to cut this in half. And then I'm also going to cut that half open so that it'll be cut in half the other way as well. So it's about 12 inches long, and I got the 6-inch round pipe, and I'm going to use these 1/4 inch bolts which are called machine ones, and they are about 3 inches high, and so you'll need nuts that are also the same. So I'm going to first put the nut on the bottom that'll be able to hold that in place, and then I just fasten this one down just far enough so that this can rest in, and you'll want to use a 1/4 inch drill bit as well to make all the necessary holes that you'll want. And then over here I have the threaded rod. It's also a 1/4 inch, and so I'm giving this one a washer as well because it's put in a flat area, so the washer can help. The others, I just used the bolts without the washer because they weren't in a flat area, but they held pretty firm. So you always want to mark off everything before you drill. And then I'm also going to use this board and to cut into the size for my head, and then I will put the bolt and washer to hold that steady. And then I'm going to really tighten the bolt and washer on this end to hold that steady, because that's going to hold the head, and you want to make sure that that's being held steady and not wobbling. So everything here very firm. I did travel with this cake and it made it. And here I'm going to use some ganache to form the tail and the ears, and this isn't my regular ganache recipe. What I do is I use that regular water ganache recipe, but I use very little water so that it's very firm, because I'm going to want the tail to come up and I want to be able to mold the ears and the tail here. So this ganache, you're just going to use very minimum water. And then I'm using the plate here so that it gives the ears a bit of a bend. So when I put it on the dog later, once I harden them in the fridge, that they'll stay, they don't move at all if you just use a very little bit of water when making this ganache. So just follow my ganache recipe, my very simple ganache recipe. Super yummy because all you're tasting is that chocolate from the chocolate chips. And yeah, it's just water ganache and it's super easy to make. And then I'm just gonna form the tail. I'm also gonna use a knife to kind of give it a hair-like look. And then just gonna pop that in the fridge until they're super hard and I'm done with the rest of the cake. And so all this has to be washed thoroughly before you start putting cake on it, because you're gonna have lots of pieces of the wood and of the PVC. So after you wash that, we're also going to cover all the rods and all the hardware and everything in foil, so it's all food safe and ready to go. Now over here, regular ganache. Okay, we're gonna first put that in, and the reason I am placing it all along the bottom part is so that when I put my 6-inch round cakes in, it will hold it steady. Now the one at the front, I made sure had a dome, and I'm also gonna do the one on the back with a dome, and all the other pieces I am going to level. And I'm also going to cut this one a little bit so that it fits that threaded metal rod there and just kind of cups it. And then just fill ganache between each layer, and that ganache will help glue all these cake pieces together for you. So yes, I used about 6 of these 6-inch round cake pans, and they were pretty tall here. So you think that pipe there, that's 12 inches long, so that's how you have to factor in about 12 inches of those. And over here I have a 4-inch round, and I'm gonna cut that to size, and that's gonna be my little doggy's neck here. So we'll cut him and then kind of cut the middle too so that I can fit it through that threaded metal rod there. And on top, I'm going to use 2 5-inch layers. Now, if you don't have the exact same cake pans, you could just cut it to size. And this one that I used for the snout, it was actually an Easter egg pan, and I just cut it to shape here. But a lot of this you can carve if you don't have the exact kind of pans, because I'm going to end up carving anyway. And just keep all these cake scraps, because we're going to use those when forming the legs. I even made a little extra cake because I knew I was going to need more when forming the legs and facial features. So we'll just take all those cake scraps and put them in a bowl and just carve out exactly how we want our doggy to look. And look, it brings admirers from everywhere. And if it helps you, a lot of times I will place it in the fridge for a while to let it firm, this ganache between the layers firm up, and it's a little easier to carve that way. So that helps. So here's our cake scraps. We're just going to give it a spin with our beaters, add some buttercream, and mix that in. And so we're basically making cake pops here. And they will just form for the legs. And then for the back legs, I'm going to give it a little extra on top because they have that little extra area for their legs. So give them a meaty thigh there, and then form the legs and the feet, and they stay together really well. And then we're going to just put it in the fridge for a while and then cover everything in that ganache. And this ganache is really going to hold everything together well. We're going to form some of the facial features for our dog, the eyebrows down to the snout. We want it to look as much like the Dachshund as we can. So I was kind of looking at different pictures while I did this to give me an idea of how I wanted it. And I added a little more to the end because some of the pictures I was looking at, it made the snout look a little bigger there. So you can just add on, or even if you cut away too much, that helps add on. Now I'm going to take this toothbrush from the packaging, mind you, not the one that I use daily basis, but we're going to put some ganache on that. And this makes great texture to make it look like that hair texture for your dog. So I use that. I also used my basting brush to add that hair texture, and the ganache really holds that well. And then we're going to use some ganache right here at the end to help stick our tail on now that our tail is hardened from being in the fridge. And remember, this kind of ganache was made with a lot less water, so it'll stay, it'll hold, it'll keep that form because we didn't use much water with that. And then just use my basting brush to continue to make that look like hair, and do the same thing when putting on the ears here. And then just hold them in place until they harden up. And then, of course, would I make any cakes without some buttercream somewhere? No. So we got to get out the buttercream, and we're just going to pipe on where we want the eyes, and however you want the eyes to look, we're just going to use buttercream to pipe in all these areas. And I use a little acetate here to just smooth out some of that buttercream there so the eyes looked a little more smoother. And yeah, we'll just give them the cute puppy dog eyes here. And we'll do the same thing with the nose. We're going to go ahead and pipe on the nose and mouth and do that. Now, if you prefer to use fondant for like the facial features and stuff, you can go ahead and do that at this point as well. But I usually steer clear of fondant for the most part, but it would be acceptable to place a little bit of fondant at this point if that makes you more comfortable. And then I'm just going to give it a little bit of coloring. I'm using my paint brushes that I use when I do certain cakes, or call them my cake paint brushes. And I'm going to add a little color onto there. If you use an oil-based food coloring, that does better with chocolate and doesn't beat up as much. So I'm just going to give it some gold coloring, give him more dimension than straight up chocolate here. And then I'm going to also give him a little collar as well, but I'll add that last. I'll put down some green buttercream for the grass. And I'm going to give you a cool trick as to how to make a realistic grass using coconut flakes here. And we're just going to go ahead and put some green food dye right in the coconut flakes. I'm just going to squeeze it in this straight in the bag. Actually, because this is resealable, so I was able to actually close this and shake it around a bit. But I found the best way to mix this was just by putting my gloved hand in there and just mixing them with my hand itself because just shaking it wasn't getting it. So there, once I mixed it with my hand, it came out really well. And I love the texture. I love how it looks like real grass. And if people don't like to eat coconut, this part you're not going to be eating on the cake anyway. And then I'm going to go ahead and pipe on that collar. And then Wilton has those little heart sprinkles. And I'm going to use one of those for his collar. And then he will be finished. And look at that, standing Dachshund cake. Thank you so much for joining me today. And please subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to ring that bell so you get alerted when I do new tutorials. Have a great day.